everybody had fun. Our goal as we planned for this golf tournament was to try our best to make sure everybody went home with something. So if you had a lot of fun, we've accomplished our mission. I'm honored today to have some special guests here, as I introduced you to earlier. The first person I'd like to introduce you to is a guy, like I say, he's a player on the 1979 World Champion Pittsburgh Pirates. And we'd like to ask him to come up and say a few words. Mr. Steve Nicosia. How'd you do, Steve?
Not too bad. I'm doing great.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Thank you. I just wanted to say a few words, and I figured I'd grab the microphone before Leo got hold of it, because that'd be a couple hours before I get to speak after that. But I do probably 8 or 10 of these a year where we come up and do charity work, get to play in a golf tournament, get to meet a lot of great people. And I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for my wife and I being invited here. We were supposed to come last year, but my daughter messed it up by having a baby the day before we were supposed to drive up here. So we got a chance to come back, and I just want to thank you. It's really God's country up here. It's so beautiful, and the hospitality has been fantastic. So thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Steve. Thank you and your wife for participating today. It's quite an honor to have you guys here. I hope everybody had a lot of fun out there, and I know y'all just lucky that I didn't play, because I would have got to the top of the leaderboard.
One way or another.
One way or another. But no, I'm honored and thankful that all of you are here. Most of you are folks from our community, and we thank you for supporting the Cobb Museum and this golf tournament. We're looking forward to having this tournament at the same time next year. So we hope that you'll come back out and participate with us. We hope to have it grow every year. And we're honored that you came out and supported us. So I'd like to get started with our next special guest that I'd like to ask to come up and say a few words. He's, like I say, he's from not too far from here, but Lake Hartwell guy. But we're honored to have in our midst Mr. Bruce Widener.
Thank you, Wesley. On the way down here, Leo says, you're going to have to introduce me to the group today. And I said, you don't want to be introduced to me because I know you only too well. So I will tell you one real interesting thing about Leo. I asked your state representative here, Alan Powell, to introduce a commending resolution for Leo a couple of years ago in the legislature. And I was doing some research to find out a little bit about Leo's past. And I found out the most interesting thing that ESPN actually said that Leo was probably the best pitching coach in the history of baseball. And I thought that was pretty good. And I asked Leo one time, I said, Leo, what does it take to be a great pitching coach? And he thought for a minute and he says, great pitchers. And I thought that was about the truth. So without further ado, let me give you Leo Mazzone.
Thank you, Bruce, for that lovely introduction. Hey, thanks everybody for having me here. Wesley, it's a pleasure to come up here. Anything that has to do with baseball and supporting some charities, we love to do that. It goes way back to the days when I grew up and my dad worked in a paper mill after coming back from World War II. He was a sheet metal specialist on B-17 bombers, and he worked in a paper mill, so he taught me what hard work was all about. So I ended up spending 24 years in the minors, 18 in the bigs, and had a career of 42 years. But anyway, it's the greatest life you could possibly have, and it's a vicious business, but once again, it's the greatest life you could possibly have, and that 15-year run in Atlanta was the greatest time in my life. Well, it's not much about me, but a lot of people always ask me about mound conversations. What really goes on out there? Well, one time I went out to the mound and told Smoltz to get his head out of his ass, and he said, Leo, he goes, the catcher just told me that. I said, we don't need to hear it twice, I'll go back in. then there was another one where Greg Maddux was pitching, and he had a one-run lead in the 6th inning against San Diego. They had runners on second and third, and there was 2 outs and a little short fly ball to left. Klesko was in left field. He couldn't find the ball. And it looked like it was going to drop and we'd be down 2-1. Finally, Klesko made the catch. Dovin made the catch. So Maddox was in the dugout going, let's go, let's go. Well, that's an easy catch. And prior to that play, Tim McCarver was in the stands because we were the game of the week on Saturday. This is a Friday night. So the game of the week would come in, and then I would meet with Tim McCarver the next day to go over the matchups. Well, in the meantime, he's there watching this. So I told Maddox, I said, take it easy. We made the catch. He goes, Leo, that ball's in the air 7 seconds. I said, yeah, I know that. He goes, yeah, 7 seconds is an easy catch in fair territory. He said, 4 seconds is a dive, and 3 seconds is a base hit. I went, yeah, I know, but we made the play. I'd never heard that before in my life. So anyway, we end up winning the game, and so I'm meeting with McCarver the next day, and he goes, hey, he said, we were at the game last night, and it looks like you and Maddox were having words in the dugout. I said, no, what do you mean? He goes, well, he said in the 6th inning, looks like he was upset. He said, you guys made a play, and you all won the game. I said, yeah, Tim, but the ball was in the air 7 seconds. He goes, what? I said, yeah, the ball was in the air 7 seconds. I said, that's an easy catch. I said, and 4 seconds is a dive, and 3 seconds is a base hit in fair territory. He goes, how the hell did you know that? I said, well, I've done my research. I said, and I didn't tell him any different. I didn't tell him it was Maddox taught me that. So after he left, I ran into the clubhouse and I said, hey, Mad Dog, I said, I stole your 7-second stuff. He goes, Leo, that's real good coaching when you do that. So they think it was my idea. And then there was one time where he looked at me. This was his 5th start in '95 when we got off to a great start. He ended up the year 19-2. Anyway, it was his 5th start. He goes, Leo, you've never been out to the mound yet, during my games. I said, well, you're pitching extremely well. I said, our practice sessions are going extremely well. What do you want me to do? Make something up? He goes, well, he said it gets lonely out there. He said, I think I'll look in the 6th inning. You come out and pay me a visit. We're playing the Mets. I'm thinking, I said, yeah, I will. I said, man, he must know he's going at least 6. That's pretty confident, And as you well know, a lot of things can happen, I mean, anyway, in the 6th inning, he's got a shutout going against the Mets, and he looks in it looks right in the dugout, and he goes, Bobby goes, Leo, get your butt out there and check him out. He's looking for you. Make sure he's not hurt. I said, okay, I'll go out there. So I go out to the mound. Of course, Skip Carey goes, well, I think Leo's spotted a flaw in Matt Cannon. So I go out to the mound, and I said, well, here I am. He goes, what do I look like from in there? I said, well, you got a 3-hit shutout going. I said, you look pretty good. He goes, well, I'm glad you came out, Leo. He said, because I don't want to talk to Chipper. He said, and I sure as heck don't want to talk to the umpire. He said, the catcher don't speak English. He said, so I'm glad you came out. I said, now that I'm out here, you're going to leave? He said, one more question. I said, what? He goes, does the bullpen need any work? No, you're going 9. And I left. And everybody thought that was a real strategic thing, but so those things go on out on the mound. And I will tell you a funny story. Bobby Cox and I were very close, and he's starting to get a little better. I visit him every week in assisted living down in Atlanta. He's but he's close to his house, and he gets to go home on weekends now. And so anyway, one time we're in Wrigley Field, and it's the 8th inning, and it's a knockdown, drag-out game, and it's hot. So Bobby goes, I need some coffee. I said, look, you drink any more coffee, you're going to blow up. I don't care, Leo. I'm drinking some coffee. I call him. He goes, you need anything? I said, boy, the way this game's going, I could use a beer. He calls the clubhouse guy up in the phone, says, bring me down a coffee and bring Leo down a beer. And I said, Bobby, and Bobby goes, you heard me. Clubhouse guy goes, what? He goes, you heard me. Bring me down a coffee and give Leo a beer and a coffee cup. So, plastic cup. So he comes down. He said, put the lid on it. So we come down there, and the clubhouse go, here's your coffee, guys. Now I've got a beer in my hand in a dugout in Wrigley Field, and I'm thinking WTBS, WGN, oh my God, somebody sees me, I'm going to get fired, Bobby goes, drink the damn thing, and I said, he's laughing, We end up winning the game. Well, Bobby's a very superstitious guy. Next game, 8th inning, bring me down a coffee, bring Leo down a beer. I'm thinking, man, we get into a 9-10 game winning streak. This is going to be a lot of fun because he won't change nothing. We brought in Kent Merker, a left-handed reliever, in the bottom of the 9th inning to face the backup catcher for the Cubs. His name was Hector Villanueva. He hits a home run. Bobby throws his lineup card at me and goes, "That's the last beer you'll ever have in a dugout." So it lasted one day. But believe me, we had a great time. And a quick message to some of the parents that have kids here and kids that are growing up. 52% of Tommy John surgeries now occur 19 years of age and under. And I can tell you why. It's the term velo, or velocity. That's all I hear anymore is how hard somebody can throw. Baseball has turned into home run derby and how hard you can throw a baseball and how far you can hit it. Number one, the ball's juiced. Make no mistake about it. Number two, subtract 5 miles an hour from anything you hear on TV. They don't time the pitch coming across the home plate anymore. Number three, your young pitchers, your traveling teams that play all these games, and there's nothing wrong with that, is they're being told if they don't hit a certain number on a radar gun, they don't make a club. Well, what's a teenage kid supposed to do? He reaches back for the velocity to try to catch it, and that's exactly why 52% of Tommy John surgeries occur 19 years of age and under, with parents asking me, should my son get Tommy John surgery when he don't need it? What, are you out of your mind? You don't hear about all the ones that don't work. You only hear about some success on a few. So pay attention to that. You know, I did a coaching seminar. I had 3,500 coaches in Waco, Texas, 1,700 in Columbus, Ohio, 1,600 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, all wanting to know about the arm problems. That is the arm problems of how hard you can throw a baseball now instead of pitching. You know what Hank Aaron told me one time? He was my boss for 12 years. He said, Leo, you tell your pitchers one thing. We can time a jet coming through that strike zone if you see it often enough. So what he was telling me was make sure you teach them to change speeds. But that's pitching. The bottom line is the concern for the arm injuries from the youth. I talked to team doctors who say some kids are drafted out of high school and they have elbows of 30-year-old men. Then they blow out while they're in the minor leagues. Some of the older gentlemen that have the experience and have spent their entire lifetime in professional baseball are now ones that they do not want in the game. Knowledge is intimidating, and they don't want anybody over 60 years of age in the game as far as coaching, basically because they will fight a system that has been made today based on total analytics. And there's nothing wrong with some analytics, but there's also something to be said for managing people. I got a degree in psychology and never went to college. You think my presentation to a pitcher is going to be different? Absolutely it is, depending on the personality of an individual. With Tom Glavine, you could be firm. With John Smoltz, you had to use a lot more sense of humor because he was more emotional. And with Greg Maddux, you had to have all your X's and O's in place. So you had different approaches for different pitchers. But I'll leave you with this. Whatever game you're in life or whatever, there's nothing like a great sense of humor. I worked with a kid up in New York about 2 months ago, and he says, he was 14 years old. He says, I don't laugh much. I said, man, you're in for a long life. And I was dead serious. I said, if you don't laugh much, you are in for a long life. So look in the mirror and laugh every once in a while. Okay? Thank you so much for having me here. I had a great career because I had great pitchers. But Bobby Cox was one of the closest, had the most influence on my life of any man with the exception of my father. And you know why he was such a great boss? Here's what he said. Leo, I don't care what you do, there's your pitchers. Take care of them. And we certainly did for the greatest run in the history of baseball. Thank you.